You think you're safe behind that bar? Man, just imagine hearing those exact words whispered to you in an isolated park, miles from help, by a guy you thought was just a harmless, lonely customer. It's this incredibly chilling reminder that the safe, brightly lit world we all kind of take for granted, yeah, it can vanish in an absolute instant, leaving us completely exposed. Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a fascinating and honestly, genuinely terrifying phenomenon: how the late night hours systematically strip away our everyday safety nets. We're going to look at three distinct, grounded accounts pulled directly from late night workers. And these stories? They totally expose the hidden dangers of clocking in while the rest of the world is fast asleep. So, what exactly is the night shift? Well, in the context of the source material we're unpacking today, it's not just a time on a schedule. It is a working period where normal social rules just kind of fade away. Physical isolation hits its absolute peak, and your vulnerability to external threats drastically increases. The environment itself becomes inherently unpredictable, essentially turning totally ordinary jobs into frontline exposures.
Section 1, the obsessive regular, a psychological threat. Let's get into it.
You see, our seasoned bartender thought she could easily handle her lone, late-night customers. But this stalker's psychological trap progressed completely under her radar. It started out mundane enough, with a polite rejection. She turned down his requests for dates. But then came the persistence. He started returning 5 nights a week to build this false sense of familiarity. Exhausted, she finally agreed to a daytime walk, which very quickly led to forced isolation deep in a remote park. And that's exactly when the trap snapped shut. Literally, without any warning, his demeanor instantly changed. He stripped away all her perceived safety in a matter of seconds. Mocking her for walking into the woods with him, he told her, "I know your name. I know who you are." But when she realized she actually knew nothing about him, this horrifying truth just dropped. He said, "I've always paid in cash. I've never given you my real name." He had engineered this entire thing completely off the grid. She was totally isolated with a phantom who was now telling her that she was his property. Trapped and shaking, fully expecting to be violently grabbed at any moment, she used a single piece of information he'd casually dropped weeks earlier. She looked right at him and said, "I hope nobody ever does this to your daughter." It was like a psychological kill switch. He just froze, let out this weird grunt, and simply told her to keep walking. She escaped. She survived. But she was left with a profound realization of her own vulnerability and just how easily the illusion of safety had been weaponized against her. Section 2, Deadly Closing Time. This is where we shift to real-world violence. Now, Manager Lisa's dollar store shift really exposes how rigid corporate policy can turn lethal. The timeline here is just damning. Day 1, 10:15 p.m., armed men are spotted in the alley. By 11:30 p.m., a nearby cashier is shot dead. Despite this absolutely terrifying near miss, 48 hours later, corporate management intervenes over a customer complaint. Their solution? They force Lisa's doors to stay unlocked until 11 p.m. Absolutely no exceptions. Which brings us to a really tense 11 p.m. on day 3. Lisa flips the sign to closed, but adhering to corporate's fatal rule, she leaves the physical door unlocked. The store is completely quiet. They start counting the register, just going through the typical closing motions, and then the door opened, followed by heavy footsteps. 2 masks. The immediate terror sets in as the 2 men corner Lisa and the cashier. One raises a gun right to their faces and demands the register. Lisa complies entirely. Her hands are flying as she pulls out bills and sets them on the counter, doing exactly what you're supposed to do to survive a robbery, right? Give them what they want. One gun. The robbers are furious that the register is so light. Despite Lisa telling them honestly that's all the cash they have, they refuse to believe her, screaming that there just has to be a safe. And then, the gun goes off. Over just a few $100s in a sack, Manager Lisa loses her life on the floor of a dollar store. It is a devastating conclusion that really cements the brutal, unforgiving reality of the night shift. Out-of-touch policies meant to ensure profit can quite literally cost lives. Finally, Section 3, the night bus terror, moving into the unexplained. To truly grasp the terror here, you have to look at the contrast for these call center workers at an isolated, decommissioned army base back in the year 2000. The ride in is entirely normal. It's daylight, people are talking and joking on their commute. But that 11 p.m. ride out on the company shuttle bus, It is pitch dark. There's this heavy, exhausted silence. And the bus has to travel down this incredibly lonely road, past empty, ruined military structures on one side and a dense, oppressive wall of forest on the other.
I want to ask you a question. Put yourself in their shoes for a second. Picture yourself on that hot, damp bus with the AC completely broken, staring out into the pitch black tree line. What runs on two legs, matches the speed of a driving bus, and shatters metal? What emerged was sheer, unnatural horror. A creature dashed from the trees, instantly matching the fleeing bus's speed. Witnesses saw this towering entity with arms literally dragging in the dirt and a flat, pale membrane face. It violently slammed its body against the metal frame, completely unaffected by the heavy impacts. The terrified driver floored it, and only after a really relentless pursuit did the entity finally vanish back into the woods. Absolutely terrifying.
Section 4. Surviving the Dark. The Unseen Costs. When you step back, these three distinct accounts, a stalker's trap, a fatal robbery fueled by corporate negligence, and an unexplained entity, they really expose the heavy physical and psychological toll of working while the rest of the world sleeps. It makes you view those late-night hours completely differently, doesn't it? So I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you see a lone worker under the fluorescent lights at midnight, what unseen threats are standing right outside their door? Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. Stay safe, stay curious, and we'll catch you on the next one.